everybody, I'm Dr. Todd and welcome to the Miller Method. Today we are going to be talking about resting metabolic rate. And what your resting metabolic rate is the amount of calories that you would burn if you just stayed awake, sat in a chair, and did nothing for 24 hours. And we can predict the resting metabolic rate by several different methods. There's a lot of equations for predicting the RMR, and you can go on the internet and just type in resting metabolic rate calculation, and you can find multiple sites that will allow you to enter your height, your weight, your gender, and all the things necessary to calculate resting metabolic rate. The problem with these equations is sometimes they're accurate and sometimes they're not, because there are a lot of things that affect resting metabolic rate. Your hormones can affect RMR, your thyroid in particular. So if you're hyperthyroid or hypothyroid, these equations will not take that into account. So one of the most accurate ways for actually measuring resting metabolic rate is through indirect calorimetry. And what we have here is an indirect calorimeter. And what the calorimeter does is it essentially measures the difference in oxygen between the air out here in the room and the amount of air that you exhale. And for each liter of oxygen that you consume, you burn 5 calories. So by knowing how many liters of oxygen we consume in, say, 10 minutes of sitting in the chair, we can then extrapolate that number out to 24 hours and determine what your minimum caloric need is just to keep you alive. Okay? So how this machine works is there's a disposable hose that plugs into the machine, and at the end of this hose there's a one-way valve. So we put this thing in our mouth. When we inhale, air from the room goes through this valve. When we exhale, it's forced through this tube into this machine. Our nose is plugged when we do this so that all the air that we exhale goes into this machine. So for about 10 minutes, our oxygen consumption is measured. And then at the end of that 10 minutes, we get a printout. And on one side of the printout, we have sort of a little seesaw drawing here. And on one side of the printout, we have our total energy output. And this is the amount of calories that we measured, the amount of oxygen consumption that we measured here, as well as an estimation of our daily activity and our exercise. And these things are summed together to give you your total energy output. So this gives you an idea, a very good idea, of how many calories that you're going to burn throughout the day. On the other side of the seesaw, we have our total energy input. And the energy input is divided into 3 zones: the maintenance zone, the weight loss zone, and the medically supervised zone. And the maintenance zone is essentially a range of calories where if you consume within that range, your weight's not going to change. The weight loss zone is a range of calories where if you eat somewhere in that range, you're going to lose some weight at a safe, effective rate. The medically supervised zone is a caloric number that you should not go under. If you go underneath that, you're not losing weight at a safe rate. You're probably losing muscle along with any weight that you do lose, and that's a bad thing. So the most important thing that we need to know about resting metabolic rate is it's largely affected by how much skeletal muscle that we have, because muscle is the engine that burns fuel. It's the engine that burns calories. So what we are going to talk about in our next segment is the importance of skeletal muscle in weight management, what type of exercises we can do to maximize our skeletal muscle, and how those things lead to long-term losses in weight that are safe, permanent, and effective. Thanks.